Mohammad Marandi is a professor at Tehran University. He joins us now from the Iranian capital. Mohammad Marandi, what does Hassan Rouhani do next if this does not calm down?
Well, the numbers of protesters have decreased a lot because people are distancing themselves, the protesters, from the rioters. So it's mostly riots that have been taking place now. President Rouhani has spoken last night in another meeting and said that some of this is being instigated by countries that are hostile towards Iran. And social media applications are also being used, as we in Iran are witnessing, for example, to teach people how to use Molotov cocktails or make them.
Okay, just let me stop you there, because you've made two key points there,
or other social
Marandi.
media
Just to interrupt you,
applications.
instigated by whom precisely?
Sure. Well, I don't think he was very clear, but I think he mentioned the United States, and he said a number of other countries. So I think that he's probably alluding to U.S. allies such as Israel and Saudi Arabia, but the country that he mentioned apparently was the United States. But one thing that is important is that social media applications don't cooperate with Iran, unlike in the West. For example, in London in 2009, when there were the riots, or in the United States, social media is answerable to the government. In the case of Iran, these Western-based groups are calling on people to attack police stations. They're teaching them how to produce bombs, yet they're not being blocked or stopped by any Western country. And I think that if European countries, and in particular England, they want to improve relations with Iran, this is not the way forward. Also, BBC Persian and the VOA, they are trying to fuel tension through the way in which they are covering this. So there does seem to
just
be
to stop you there, because I do have to stop you there, Mr. Marandi. And not wishing to talk about my own backstory, I used to work at the BBC. I have colleagues who worked on BBC Persian. There is no way on the planet that BBC Persian would instigate violence. Neither would the VOA. I don't know anyone that works at the VOA. I can promise you.
That's not what I said.
Hold on.
I did not say instigate violence.
BBC Persian would not be involved in propagating anything like that. It just wouldn't. I just want to ask you one more point, though. You're saying that these social media platforms. You're saying these social media platforms.
They are deeply involved in trying to promote greater tension.
No, they're not. You're saying social media platforms are controlled elsewhere,
yes,
and yet the government in Tehran is blocking social media platforms. It can't have it both ways.
Excuse me, but those social media platforms are not controlled in Tehran. They're controlled in foreign countries. And those countries have the ability to stop them from inciting violence and to promote violence and to teach people how to produce bombs. That is obvious. When it comes to your countries in the West, then things are the other way around. In 2009, during the London riots, the Prime Minister at that time, and people can look this up, was talking about shutting down social media. And they also social media cooperated with the police to arrest these people.
Okay.
So
talking about shutting down social media and actually doing it.
I watch social media and I see BBC Persian.
We are not here to talk about what the British government did or did not do with social media in the context of the UK. But to take you right back to point number one, you basically seem to be saying that these protests are diffusing on their own and they are becoming less. Can I put it to you that that is demonstrably not the case? From the Caspian Sea in the north to Izeh in the south, these demonstrations are real, they are ongoing, and they are current. And for the government to say, nothing here, move on, we don't have a problem, is precisely the wrong interpretation because of a different agenda that it looks as if...
No one said that. And by the way, I'm not the government, and don't attribute by word the government to me. I teach at the University of Tehran, and you invited me on this show. If you want a government official, go and invite a government official. I talk to you as an academic. I know what's going on in this country. I'm more fluent in Persian than you are. And since you worked in the BBC, then you are definitely biased. But without a doubt, when the Iranian president says that the United States is involved in these issues, then there's something important going on there. He is the elected president of the Iranian people. He won 57% of the vote with a very high turnout in this country, unlike Saudi Arabia, which has no democracy and the United States supports it and has no problem with it. Iran is constantly under attack by the Western media, and this is something that's not new to anyone. And any student who wants to go and look at how BBC Persian and VOA Persian functions, they're open to do it. It's a very good idea, actually, to do research on that and how, through discourse, they produce a narrative that enables people to move towards greater hostility. That's, in my opinion, something that's beyond a doubt. But you can think otherwise.
For the record, Mr. Marandi, I do think otherwise. I am not biased and I do not work for the BBC. I work for Al Jazeera English here in Doha. But thank you very much for joining us here.
And I'm an academic.
Thank you for joining us here on the NewsHour.